Welcome to our YouTube channel CareersTalk, where we discuss the latest trends and the best practices in Agile world. Friends, today we have very special guest joining us to talk about the importance of objective and key result OKR for Scrum Masters. He is highly experienced and respected Agile coach with a wealth of knowledge and expertise in this field. He will be sharing these insights and tips on how to use OKR to drive success in your Scrum team. So, this is a topic that is essential for anyone who wants to be an effective Scrum Master. So, don't miss out this opportunity to learn from the best. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this session. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let us know what you think about this session. Your feedback is always appreciated and it will help us to make our content even better. So without further ado, let's welcome Pratyoosh to the session. Welcome Pratyoosh and thanks for giving your time today. Pratyoosh.
Thanks, Sunan. Thanks for inviting me. It's always a pleasure, connecting on Career Talk because we know the kind of community service this channel is doing, especially for Scrum Master and largely for the Agile, community overall. So thanks. And I would like to say, the reason why I chose this topic was when we connected last time, I think somewhere by end of December, right? I thought this is the right time to talk about OKR because it's end of December, January when we were talking, right? And this is a time wherein for any organization, people start thinking about what is their goal for this year, right? What is their objective? So this is a period wherein we all do goal setting. And OKR is, I would say, the most successful and important goal setting framework that we are using in industry right now. So that's how we decided about OKR. So maybe let me start. Let me share my screen, and then I'll talk about OKR. And Sunant, please feel free to ask any question.
Definitely, I am so curious. I have a lot of questions for you. So
Okay, because I know you are very well attached to the, and connected to the community. So you know what people face. You might have gone through all those questions that people post. So let me start with that.
I have for you. Yeah. Please go ahead. Share your screen.
Okay, so this is objective and key result, right? On target, right? So, I mean, there are a lot of things that I'll be discussing, in next maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Also, I'll be touching about some of the myths around it, right? Some of the areas where we get confused, right? And also, how it all started, how is it supporting, organizations, how, what is the reason it is so popular, and what is our role? When I say our role, largely product owner and Scrum Master, but not limited to that. We'll discuss about, at every level, there is a role to be played in, writing a good, effective, and a successful OKR. So with this, I'll start. So these are the key, areas that what we'll be discussing. So I'll talk about what OKR is. Some of you might be having idea about it. Some of you might have just heard about it. So I'll, at a very high level, I'll just brush up so that we have a right and a common understanding. Then we'll discuss about how do we write OKR, what is objective, what are the key things about objective, how do we write it. Maybe I'll give one or two example about good OKR, not so good OKR. Third is very important, difference between OKR and KPI. Most of us, we get confused between these two. I have received a lot of questions around it, so I'll talk about it. In between, I'll also be talking about when we see organization as a whole, right? How is the flow of OKR? From the top. When I say top, means CEO, right? Till a developer. How all of them are connected and aligned with the help of OKR, and also some of the key actors, right? Who are the key people, key roles? Who is, they are important for a successful OKR. So when we talk about anything, right, it's very important that we understand and know the background, the history of it. That actually helps us to understand from where it all started, right? And it also helps us to relate, why we are using it, how it evolved, and how does it supports. I won't take much time over here. At a very high level, I'll quickly give you some background about OKR. Those of you who would have read organizational behavior or would have done some MBA courses, you would have heard of something called MBO, Management by Objective. So long back, I mean, Peter Drucker, he's an American management guru. So he gave this the concept of management by objective, MBO. The whole idea was, okay, you set an objective or objectives, set of objectives, and you start working towards it, right? You fix the goal, which was called as objective, and you keep on working to achieve that goal. So management by objective. And as per him, as per MBO, managers were responsible to ensure that objectives are met. But that was quite long back. I mean, that was 1954. So then came this guy, Andrew Groves. You can call him as father of OKR. He took, the key point from MBO, right, which is objective part. But MBO was silent on how do you how do you measure how these objectives are met. So he added results to that. So he came up with OKR. So objective from MBO and KR, key result. That is something that he added. So that how are we moving towards the objective? What is the progress towards the objective? Have we achieved the objective? If we say we have achieved, based on what, right? Then the person who made it more popular, John Doerr. John Doerr joined Intel, and since Andrew has already implemented OKR, he became part of that. He learned OKR, and in fact, when John Doerr, in fact, he was one of the investor in Google in its early days. So when he is invested in Google, he implemented OKR over there. He, and then Google was a success story. We all know that, right? And that was the reason, everyone has seen the success of Google, right? It became popular, very successful. And one of the primary reasons what John Doerr says is OKR, right? Once this success story was, public, then there was a phenomenal demand of OKR. Now think of any organization, any big organization, any successful tech-led organization, right? Like LinkedIn, Amazon, Netflix, you name it, they are using OKR. So that is a very high level idea about, the flow or the history of, how OKR evolved. Now, a natural question in your mind, right? What is OKR, right? I know most of you would be, having some idea about it. Very simple. It's a goal setting framework. And OKR stands for objective and key results. So there is an objective in a very simple layman term. We'll get into details later on. There is an objective. There are a set of key results, right? So let's understand the very high level flow. And of course, we'll deep dive into it. So at the very high level, at the top, we have objectives. We define objective. That talks about what we want to achieve and why do we want to achieve that. What is our goal? What do we want to achieve and why do we want to achieve that? Then comes the key result, right? How will we say that we have achieved this, right? So that talks about how are we going to measure our progress, right? How can we say that we have achieved objective? Now, writing objective and key result still is a wish, right? I want to achieve this. And I will say this achievement is successful if it meets this, and this. That comes into reality with the third step, that is backlog, right? In backlog, we add those items, and I'm sure all of us are aware of our backlog, right? We add those items, which helps us to achieve this key result, and the success of these key result helps us to achieve objective. Very simple flow: objective, key result, and backlog. Now, that was a very high level flow. Let's go a level deep, a level down, right? What is objective, right? When we say objective, then what it is, right? How do we write objective? How can we say this objective is good, right? So there are certain, criteria about it. The very first thing is objective is the what. What do we want to achieve, right? What is our goal, right? Now, when we talk about objectives, right, it needs to have few, criteria. The very first thing is objectives should be meaningful, right? I'm sure all of us will agree. We don't want to create a goal which doesn't make sense, right? It should be meaningful. It should be inspirational, right? What you are doing, just maintaining that level cannot be an objective for any successful organization in this agile and this, fast-paced competitive world full of disruptors, right? So it needs to be inspirational, something that drives you to move from this level to this level, right? It needs to be inspiration. It should inspire you to achieve something. Third, and very important, is it should be very clear and memorable. By clear and memorable, we mean that there should not be any ambiguity, right? We should be very clear what does this objective means, right? And memorable means it should be so simple, right? That once you go through it, once you read your objective, it's there in your mind, right? You don't need to refer it back every time, right? Last but not the least, 2 points. First, we talked about inspirational, right? Which means it needs to be ambitious, but we need to be very cautious about it. It needs to be ambitious, yet achievable, right? Creating a goal which is too tough, or in advance that it's very difficult to achieve, does not make sense to put it in OKR. Maybe if you want to achieve it, when we coach, we do a lot of deep diving into it. We break it into different objectives, and that's how we do. So it should be ambitious, but achievable. Last but not the least, and in fact, we'll be discussing in detail about this, later on. It should be aligned, right? Later on, we'll discuss there are multiple levels of OKR. All these OKRs should be aligned to each other, right? Say a team level OKR should be aligned to some OKR at the level up. That should be aligned to level up, and that should be aligned to strategy. There should be a very clear alignment so that everyone in the organization, every department in the organization, every business unit in the organization, every team in the organization are focusing and working towards the same goal, right? So it needs to be aligned. So that was about objective. Coming to key result. Key result, as I said, right? It talks about how do we measure whether this objective is successful or not, right? So as I said, it talks about how. Objective is what, this is how. Now, when we talk about key results, right? Key results needs to have all this. It should be very specific, right? It should not be vague, and it should be time bound. What do you want, and by when do you want? If it is not specific, it is very vague, it's very difficult. If it is not time bound, yes, you will achieve it, but no one knows by when. Second thing, it should be measurable, because when we say using key result, we measure whether we are successful in that objective or not. So definitely it needs to be measurable. Something very similar to objective. It should be ambitious, but achievable, right? And it should have an impact. By impact, I mean outcome, right? There is a difference between output and outcome, right? So when we say key result, there should be an outcome of that, right? There should be a change that should be very much visible. No one needs to explain you the key result, right? You yourself should be able to see it. You yourself, anyone, right, should be able to validate it. That is what is about key results. Now, there are some, for anything, right? Normally we follow a syntax, right? Not very hard and fast, but yes, it's always better that you follow some syntax so that you do not miss that. Now, if you talk about how do we write OKR, this is how we write. We will, or I will. Normally we say we because it's always a team. Achieve this, right? This is your objective as measured by the key result. So we will achieve this as measured by key result number 1, key result number 2, key result number 3, right? So if you see here, right, as measured by is very important, because if you, there is a very popular saying, and again from John Dewar's book, and there is a very good book that John Dewar has written, Measure What Matters. And in that book, he has written, right? If you cannot measure, how can you move? Right? So unless you measure something, right? This is where I am. Then only you can plan, okay, from here, I have to move here. So everything should be measured, right? So syntax is very simple. We will achieve this goal as measured by these key results, not one result, key results. Fine. Now, let me very briefly tell you how do we write OKR, right? I'll give you an example here. This is an example of good OKR, right? If you see, it writes, if you talk about objective, right? This is objective. And these are the key results. So objective is develop an online platform for sales representative and client for digital submission. Maybe, there is a organization, they're, putting in some forms, digital submission of form, so that you lower the turnaround time, right? So you have to develop an online platform for sales representatives. So it's very clear what you have to develop: an online platform. For whom? Sales representatives and client. For what? For digital submission. Why? To lower turnaround time. So it has everything. What do you want to do? For whom do you want to do? Right? How do you want to do? And what is the impact that you want to see? Right? Now, when it comes to key results, three key results that are written here are: number one, enable sales agent to submit digital application by end of the year. So very clearly defined that all the sales representatives should be able to submit digital application by when? By end of the year. Decrease processing time from 1 week to 24 hours by end of the year. Right? And reduce physical submission of application by 50% by end of the year. So very clearly mentioned what is the impact you want to see, by when do you want to see, and all that. So it talks about, right, the objective is meaningful, it is ambitious, and it is inspirational. Key result, very specific and time bound. See all the three key results, they're measurable and they have a high impact. Right. Now let me ask you, put a question, maybe Sunand. What do you think about this OKR? So we will develop an app, right? As measured by the key results are increase digital application in next few years, decrease processing time, and reduce physical submission of form. So what do you think? This objective, how are the key results?
So I think compared to the previous example, this is very vague. Develop an app, but for whom, for what is the purpose of this app? All those things are missing.
Yeah, that's right. So it is not very clearly articulated, very vague, right? You exactly use the same term, right? And not aligned, right? Fine.
And even in the key result, right? It's not specific. Decrease processing time, like what? 1 hour, 2 hours.
Exactly.
In next few. Now these were few, some. All these are not the right word.
Exactly. Right. So it is very vague, right? Decrease processing time. From what to what? By what percentage, right? Or from what to what? By when? Right? Reduce physical form submission. Very vague. Right? Do you want it to be zero? Or do you think that even 1% reduction is fine? Or you want 50% reduction? Right?
So
that word. So key results are not specific. They're not time bound. Right? They're not measurable, not verifiable. So those are the thing, right? So yeah, so that is, about what is objective, what is key result, how do we, when we are writing good objective, what are the things that we should keep in mind? When we are writing key results, what are the things that we keep in mind? I'll also talk about the process, how do we involve, how it happens at the team level, how it happens at the higher level and all. Right. So before I proceed, any question from your side, Sunan?
okay, I just want to check. Okay, you mentioned about OKR and how to define it all, but how do we align our team goals with respect to this overall objective of an organization with respect to OKR? Because as a Scrum Master, that will be more important for me. So the question is, How do OKR help to align team goals with the overall objective of an organization? And guys, this is also one of the interview questions.
Okay, fine. I think you touched this point, right? When I was talking about alignment. Okay, fine. I'll explain that. I'll come to Scrum Master, your specific question, but let me explain, the full flow. That will give you a good idea. I mean, for the viewer also, you will have a very good idea, end-to-end view, right? And then, of course, we'll focus on Scrum Master, Product Owner, and all those things. See, if you think about any organization in today's world, right? Or even earlier, while as an organization, right, especially the delivery part of the organization, we are working on near future, right, or the current or the near future, right? Leadership at the top, they plan a strategy for next few years, right? I mean, I would not say 10 years now, because in this dynamic world, that's too long. Maybe they would be thinking something like, what do they want to achieve in next 3 to 5 years, right? Or maybe max 5 to 7 years, or 2 to 3 years, right? So let me, in fact, just a minute. Let me draw it here, right? That will help you. See how it works is like this. And I would take a few minutes over here to explain, because this is very important. See, people at the top, right? Maybe your C-suite executives, right? While we are working on the current and near future, right? They are planning for next 2 years, next 3 years, something like that, right? So what happens when they plan like that, right? They have some strategy in their mind, right? If those who are aware of SAFe, you would be aware of this term, strategic themes, right? So they have they have strategies in their mind, right? These are the things that I want to achieve in next 3 to 5 years, next 2 to 3 years. Fine. That is a kind of a very high level wish. I would not even call it as an objective at this point of time, right? So these are the things that they want to achieve in next 2 to 3 years, right? I would put it as, I would use the SAFe, term over here, strategic themes. You can call it strategy or whatever. Once they have got this strategic theme for say 3 years, 5 years, right? How are they going to achieve that, right? So what happens, right? At this point of time, they will have plan, right? Or they will have goal. Okay, this is something that we want to achieve in this year. This is something next 2 years, next 3 years, right? So from this, we get a high level OKR. This is strategic OKR, the organizational OKR. I mean, just think about your organization, whichever organization you're working with. The top executives, they want, okay, this is what we want to achieve in this year, right? So that is their objective, right? Then they discuss, right? If this is the objective, how are we going to measure it? So that's how there's an OKR formation over there. Now, and remember, this is at the topmost level. Now, this objective and key result could not be achieved, by these people themselves. It has to be achieved by different departments, different business units, different horizontals in the organization, right? So what happens from there? These departments, these business unit, they again create their OKR, right? Now, these OKR are 1 year OKR, right? They want to achieve this in a year, right? From there, these units, they take their OKR. Normally, this is also a kind of strategic OKR. These are again a year-long OKR. Now, again, these maybe a business unit or a vertical, right? They want to achieve something, right? They cannot achieve it themselves, right? It is actually the teams who have to achieve it, right? If you are in a structure organization where we call it as team, hub, squad, and all, right? That's I mean, you can follow that. Or if you are in SAFe, you can say team, art, solution, train, and all those, right? So basically, they will work towards this objective, right? From there, we get to the next level of objective, right? And it would be like this. Okay, they will have different hubs, right? every hub will have their quarterly OKR. Right? Now, every hub will be made up of different teams, right? Or squad, whatever you call, right? Or maybe every art is made up of different teams, right? Each team will have their own quarterly OKR, right? So this will be quarterly, this will be quarterly, this will be quarterly. Fine. Now, if you are in this team, you are part of this team, you have got a quarterly OKR, right? So you know, what is your plan for this quarter? What is your goal for this quarter, right? Based on that goal, you will have backlog items. So now if you remember that, right? Objective, key result, backlog item. So you have a very high level objective. Let me change the color. 1 minute. So you have a very high level objective, right? Which is 1 year objective. Then comes another 1 year objective, right? Say this is, just to give an example, this is your top, organization objective. This is your business unit objective. From there, you create your, you call it as an art, you call it as a hub, whatever that objective. And then you have your team level objective. The first two are normally yearly objective. These two are quarterly objective. Now, if you'll see it, coming to your question, Sunand, alignment. Don't you think that this team level objective will be aligned to this hub level objective? Because they will derive their objectives from there. The hub level objective will be aligned to, say, business unit level objective, and business unit objective will be aligned to the organizational objective, right? So the direction comes from top to down, bottom, but implementation happens bottom up, right? So it's a very good combination of top down as well as bottom up approach. Direction comes from there, implementation comes from this bottom. Now coming to what is the role of Scrum Master? I think we'll discuss that in detail, in coming slides. I think I have a dedicated section for that. That who plays what role and what is, the importance of that.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Pratyoosh.
Fine. Now, I hope that answered your question, Sunand, the alignment part.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now coming to this, we have got that idea of high level, right? Now I think this slide will make more sense. Now, if you talk about OKRs, right? OKRs are like roughly of two cadence, right? Annual as well as quarterly. We have seen that in last slide. Annual at the top level, quarterly at the below. Now, if you talk about these OKRs, right? Mostly these OKRs, the one at the top is called strategic OKR. So, strategic OKRs are normally, those are, your high level OKR, 1 year OKR, organizational OKR and all. Then comes the tactical OKR, which is, in the example that I gave, was those business unit OKRs and all, right? So those are again quarterly. And then comes the operational OKR, which is at the team level, right? So basically there are three types: strategic, which is more of directional; tactical, which is more at the middle level; and operational, which is more at the team level. Normally you will find, strategic and tactical as more popular. So that is how it is. Now, before we move to this, again, any question from your side, Sudan? Because I'll be moving to a different thing. I mean,
Yes.
different discussion itself.
Yes, I do have. So we are talking about different types of OKR, but now the question is, how do we measure and track? I can see like you have a KPI and OKR, right? But then how do we measure and track the progress of all these OKRs?
Okay. So it's very simple. Since you were asking this question, I came back to this slide because this will help us. See, as I said, right, at the top, you have organizational OKR, objective and key results. From there, we derive the next level. In our example, we said business unit OKR, or you can call it as tactical OKR, right? And from there, we get the hub level OKR, the team level OKR and all, right? What happens, every objective, when you're writing itself, you very clearly define and articulate the key result, right? I will consider this objective successful only when these key results are met, right? Then from now, what happens? Say at this level, you would have written objective and key results. Now a level below will think, okay, how are we going to achieve this key result? That becomes their objective and creates the key result. Likewise, it gets to that level and it finally goes to backlog, right? Now, whenever we create an OKR, and I'll focus more on the team level and then I'll go up, because I think most of our viewer will be at this level, right? Team, hub and all. Wherever we create OKR, we have defined, okay, if you remember the way we used to write OKR, this is objective, this is what I want to achieve. And remember, this is your quarterly OKR, right? At the team level, this is your quarterly OKR. So which means, say, for example, Q1 2023. So my key result will very clearly mention, okay, this, to achieve, say, reduction in this from this to this by end of January, achieving an increase in this by end of February.
So
right?
is it like we are breaking our high level objective into small chunks and
Yes.
then we'll achieve that, right? In a way.
Exactly.
And in a way, like different milestones may be there. So for example, you have mentioned that one of the previous example that till December we want to achieve this. It means we will start doing that maybe after every quarter. Okay, in 4 quarter whether we are able to achieve 25 or not. If not, is that okay? Now what we can do achieve, in order to the next quarterly result. Is it like this?
Something like this. Let me explain. So you have your objective, right? You have written that. I'm assuming this is quarterly objective and this is for Q1 2023. Fine. Now, against this objective, key result is this. Achieve this by, say, Jan. This by Feb. This also Jan, right? 3 to 4 key results. Again, one point very important. You should not have too less key result. You should not have too many key results. Otherwise, your key result will become your user story, right?
Yeah.
So what happens? You know that you have to achieve this by January, right? How do you achieve? While working on that during your sprint, right? So during your backlog refinement, right? So the backlog refinement that you're having at the end of December, mid of January for your next 2 sprint, assuming it's 2-week sprint and in a month you have 2 sprints, right? You will ensure that all those items are there. Any pre-work, in advance, right? Okay, this is February, right? You know that, okay, February doesn't mean that you'll start working in February. You have to achieve this by February. So all the pre-work and all. So actually these becomes your one of the guidelines or one of the guiding thing when you create your backlog, when you do your backlog refinement, when you do your sprint planning, right? And from here, it gets to your backlog, right? Now, the moment you put it in backlog, it will be attached to some epic, right? Or it will be attached to some, there will be a story created, it will be attached to some epic, right? And then it gets to your sprint backlog. Fine. Now, once you have executed this sprint, right? Maybe, this gets to the backlog and turns into 3 story, 2 sprint and all that, right? And attached to one epic.
So at a higher level, all these KPIs are epics for me, if I have to summarize. No. These will be a product goal for me.
These are depends how do you define, right? Some of them, if you talk about plain Jira, right, you have story, epic and all, right? So these are those deliverable, right? It might be, this key result might turn into one epic, right? This key result might turn into, just one story. That's it.
Okay.
So it is not 101 alignment that, every key result will be an epic, or maybe these 2 key results combined is an epic. So the point
here, because most of the time people got confused over here and they start assuming that these KPIs we will take it as an epic.
Firstly, let me tell you, Sunan, these are not KPIs. I'm going to explain that in detail in next slide. KPI.
Again, yes, of course. But then the way it's been come to the other people, right? They will read it like this, and then they will try to map it one to one, as you mentioned, right? So again, that's not the right way of doing.
No, that is not. It is not one to one. One key result might be so remarkable that it might turn into one epic, or key result could be one story, or maybe two key result creates one epic, right? So what happens in either the case, right? Maybe say this key result turns into a story, right? Or a set of story. This key result turns into 3 stories, right? Now, if at the end of, that sprint, which is ending, which is the last sprint of January, we need to ensure that this is done. If this is done, this is achieved, right? Now, practically, what if one story is not done? Somewhere we have lagged in the key result, but we still have time to achieve the objective, right? So that's how we, we see why do we, and those are, the retrospective items and all. Fine. So it is tracked on sprint by sprint basis. Now it's very simple. If you are using good tools like Jira, Align and all, excellent. If you are not using them, even you can create a simple tabular OKR, format in Confluence, right? And as I said, remember from here you derive your backlog item, right? Which means you visit these OKRs at every backlog refinement. Now, when we do our sprint review, that time also you review, right? When we do a sprint review, it's not just a sprint goal. Of course, many of these turn into a sprint goal because these are major one, right? So this gets reviewed over there. This again gets reviewed over, during your backlog refinement. And that's how we keep on tracking. This is at the team level. Same thing happens at the hub level. Or a level up. If you're talking about, safe, it would be your art and all. Same happens a level up. Here, the tracking happens maybe every sprint. Here, tracking will happen every month, right? Every quarter, likewise.
Okay. I have, Pratyoosh, one more question which is coming to my mind. Is we talked about all these things, but then I think very important component is the team members. So how do you involve team members in this process of setting OKRs? Because most of the time people will think OKR as a top-down approach rather than bottom-up approach, right? And most of the time team just feel that, some people who are sitting somewhere else, they don't know what's happening, and then they just set few OKRs and KPIs and matrices for us, and then, and what is your take on that? Is it like team members should be involved in that set of these OKRs? And if that's the case, how we can involve them?
Yeah. Actually, I would say you cannot even visualize or think of a successful, sustainable OKR structure in your organization without involving team members. If you are not involving team members, and there are some anti-patterns around this in the in industry, you are bound to fail. You are just heading towards failure. It's just a matter of time, right? OKR cannot be written without a team member. Now I know why. In fact, you have already explained. The perception is that OKR is something that comes from top, right? So the perception is that, okay, it comes from top. So this is what you have to do. You do it, right? But as I said earlier, the direction comes from top, right? But the implementation comes from bottom. So what happens whenever we write a team level OKR, right? It is very important that you do not write team level OKR without involving your team. And when I say team, it means the whole team, not just Scrum Master, product owner, and select representatives from team. So how do we do it is very simple. Say, I'm assuming, since you asked about team, I'm assuming we are writing team level OKR. Say we have got, OKR at this level. Just 1 minute. It's tactical level, right? So we have got the tactical OKR, right? Which is for a quarter, right? Now we are from the team, right? So what happens? This tactical OKR, which is say at the business unit level, or say at the, if you are talking about safe, it is at the value stream level and all, right? From here, we will get, okay, there will be multiple hubs or multiple products available, right? Everyone will have their own OKR, which is again a quarterly OKR. Again, this is quarter. And this is say for your product's OKR for this quarter, right? Now you know that your product has to achieve this, right? This is made up of say multiple teams, right? Now what happened whenever we create OKR at the team level, this is the team level OKR. We jointly means everyone in the team, we visit the top level OKR, right? We are going to create our OKR. We cannot create in silo. It has to be aligned. So we visit the top level OKR, a level just above us. We know what we want to, as a product, right? We want to achieve in this quarter. We know our area. We know the area where we are working, right? From there, we get our objectives. So from here, we get our objectives, objective 1, objective 2, objective 3. This happens, with the involvement of team. And of course, here practically, there is a lot of guidance. There is a lot of directional help that we get from product owner. So I'm talking about objective. Once we have got those things, and once jointly we all have agreed that, okay, these are the objectives that we can work on. And if we work on these objectives, I think all those key results that are aligned to our work will be achieved, right? So that is a directional thing. And that's the reason I said a lot of guidance from product owner at that point of time. Once we have got our objectives, say objective 1, objective 2, objective 3, 4, likewise, right? Then comes the implementation. And that's where it is the team. Although at the time of creation of objective also, we need to involve team. The direction comes from top, but a lot of information comes from team. While creating key result, the team discusses, brainstorms, right? And many times, especially when your teams are not so mature, it so happens that this OKR discussion, we cannot finish it in one go. So it's something like, okay, we get the objective and we say, okay, let's spend some time. Maybe after 3 to 4 days, let's come back and again discuss, key result. So we try to give some time to team, to think and all. But as you mature, normally we have seen in 1 or 2 sitting, you get both OKR, objective as well as key result. So team with a good understanding of this objective decides what are the key results, right? And when I say team, it includes team member, product owner. Scrum Master is largely on the facilitation part. So you cannot think of OKR without team. Team level OKR has to be written by team.
Great. Okay, Pratyoosh, thanks for that. If you allow, I have one more query over here.
Sure, go ahead.
So see, the way you are explaining, it looks easy, but I'm sure it's more complex. I mean, at least most of the people thought about it. So, and you have already done it successfully in a couple of past projects and organizations. Would you like to share some of the challenges or issues which you might have faced during all this exercise?
See, there are multiple challenges, especially when you start with, and as you mature, these things come. The very first question that comes whenever we talk about OKR, right? The very first question comes in our mind is, okay, so everything is fixed and we are in a very dynamic world, right? So what happens if things changes, right? So if you would have observed the top level objective is yearly, right? Then comes quarterly, and the backlog, assuming it's 2-week sprint, it's 15 days, fortnightly, right? So this, the time frame, right, from year to quarter to 15 days, that gives a lot of I would say scope for you to adjust as per your requirement, right? So even if you will see in long term, right, at a higher level, strategic things doesn't change in next 2 months or 3 months or 5 months, right? Normally it remains, but what happens at the top level, and that's why there is a flow over here. You have a top level OKR, you get this OKR, you get this OKR, you get this OKR, right? Then there is a reverse flow, the flow of feedback, which is very important, especially in Agile. Not every OKR could have been achieved, right? So what if this was not achieved, right? Why that happened? that also goes up, up and up, and accordingly they also keep on adjusting their OKR, right? So the very first thing is that OKR doesn't mean a very rigid framework, right? It is a directional framework but with lot of flexibility, and it is ensured by two ways. One, by reducing the time frame, right, from yearly to quarterly to monthly and likewise. Second, with a feedback loop. Now the challenge is here. Many organizations, they do not have a very good feedback loop. And if you do not have feedback loop, those minor adjustment and all doesn't happen. That's one thing. Second is a challenge again. I mean, I think we touched upon that part. People do not involve team, right? And if you do not involve team, it's based on what you assume. This is the objective. This is the key result. It becomes a burden on the team. You do not get the feedback, right? Because see, it's very simple. Those who are doing, they know it, right? Anyone at any level, right? A level up knows what do you want to achieve, but how is always with the people, right? So they know it. So I think these are the major challenges I've seen. Not good, feedback loop, not involving team. Many times, the third one, which in fact I'm going to discuss, confusing between OKR and KPI, right? Or writing an OKR, not taking care of all these things. I mean, very ambiguous, not time bound, and very ambitious, not achievable, and all those things. So those are the general thing.
Okay, thanks, Pratyoosh. I think we can go on. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, then coming to something which I have been talking about a lot, difference between OKR and KPI. See, as I said, many times we confuse between these two. It's very simple. Or you can see in this example, right? This person is driving, right? When you're driving, at that point of time, you would ensure that, say you have proper fuel, right? You're not running short of gas. You have you are driving within the speed limit, right? If the speed limit allows only 70 kilometers, you should not be driving at 120 kilometers, right? Things like your engine oil is there. There's not too much of heating happening in the engines and all, right? So these are the very basic thing that you have to ensure. You have to take care. If you do not take care of these things, you will not be able to drive, right? You may start your journey, but you will have a lot of challenges. So those basic essential things are your KPI, right? Now, OKR is an inspirational thing. What do you want to achieve, right? So I want to go to this place. From there, I want to go to that place. From there, I got to know, okay, there is that hill station is better, right? Let's go to that place. That is your objective. I'll give you another example. Say, we all get our health check, right? Done, right? So periodically we go to health check and all, to check, our vitals, like, what is your blood sugar level, right? What is your hemoglobin level, right? What is the level of different RBC and all, platelet and all those things, right? Those are your KPIs. You have to ensure that you do not miss on any of these KPIs. If your blood sugar level is not in control, you are in trouble. If your hemoglobin is too low, you are in trouble, right? If your say platelet is too high or too low, you are in trouble, right? So you have to ensure that you have to have all these things in place. These are your KPIs. Now, OKR is, I can run only 2 kilometers. I have to achieve, I have to get to a level of running 7 kilometers in next 1 month. I have to get to level of running half marathon in next 3 months. I have to get to, run one, full marathon in next 6 months, right? That is your objective. KPI is your bare minimum basic that you need to ensure that you should be having that in place so that you operate, you run, right? So this actually gives you some idea. All those, things that you do to maintain the ongoing activity, that is your KPI. If you miss on them, you'll fall. You cannot run, right? But objectives are those things that helps you to advance towards your mission and vision. What do you want to achieve, right? Both KPI and OKRs are important for your strategy, right? You cannot say that we have moved to and this is again one of the anti-pattern. We have seen organizations saying, okay, now we have adopted OKR framework. We don't have KPIs. If you do that, actually you will either miss on it, and in most of the cases you will mix OKR and KPI. So both of them are important for you to be successful. KPI ensures those basics and vitals so that you keep running, and OKR ensures that you keep achieving next level like that. I hope this was clear, Sunand, because a lot of people, I'm sure you would have got a lot of queries around this OKR KPI.
Absolutely. Most of the time we got different people got confused between these two.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming to thing, who are the key actors? And I think Sunand, you asked that question. Scrum Master. What is the role of Scrum Master? Who are the key actors in having successful OKR? Well, if I have to answer that in one sentence, I would say everyone, or in one word, everyone. You cannot think of successful OKR without a very active support and active involvement of any of the people, person in the organization all through, right? Say, for example, you cannot think of a successful OKR without C-suite executives. You cannot think of successful OKR without the leadership at the higher level. You cannot think of that without product owner. You cannot think of a successful OKR without Scrum Master and team, right? Team we have already discussed how important they are. Now let's focus especially on the team part, because that's where your question was. What is the role of Scrum Master, right? For a successful OKR, the very first thing comes from writing OKR. And when we say writing OKR, remember, right now I'm talking about team level. The team level OKR should always be aligned to a level up, right? So when we say writing OKR, which means Scrum Master is someone who would be facilitating the discussion of writing OKR. When we say discussion of writing OKR, again, there are multiple parts of it. When number one is who are the people who are involved, right? So Scrum Master should ensure that team is involved in writing OKR. Secondly, Scrum Master, it is always good that Scrum Master, before having all this OKR discussion and all, themselves checks the OKR of a level up so that they have an understanding about it. They ensure that the product owner has gone through those OKRs, right? Most of the time product owner would have gone through because they are part of the OKR discussion a level up, the way team members are here. So they would have gone through that, understanding of that OKR. They have once this discussion starts, product owner is very clearly articulating and explaining the higher level OKR, right? Now, when Scrum Master is facilitating, Scrum Master needs to ensure that everyone is participating. You will have different type of people, right? So people will not be so open, right? So ensuring that everyone participates, they ask question, and like any facilitation that Scrum Master does. So that is the first thing, but that's not all. At the time of backlog refinement, Scrum Master, although doesn't do that, but ensures that team and product owner, they do not miss the OKR, right? So in case they would have missed, it's the responsibility of Scrum Master to remind them of that, right? And then, the team and all, they discuss and then they put it in backlog, right? If there is something very important, right? It's the normal coaching, right? And, if it is something which is related to the OKR, right? Like anything, that Scrum Master does for impediment removal, this should be a priority item for them, right? So they should support the team in removal of impediment. And I think you have asked that question, right? How do we track the progress, right? That's again where a Scrum Master comes into picture. And practically, I have seen, in most of the organization, right, those work, right, ensuring that this is filled, ensuring that the, those say if you are maintaining it in Confluence, that is updated, right, epics are linked, when in the say suppose you are maintaining a table on Confluence, right, ensuring that against every key result epics are put by the team and all. That is something that basic sanity and hygiene thing that Scrum Master does. And actually that helps a lot, because a level up, right, it's very easy for them. They don't need to go to the detail. They can just open the sheet of OKR, and if you have all the epics, the progress and all tracked, they can see that. So Scrum Masters are very important. Product owner, as I have already explained while in this example, are key to it, right? Because product owner is someone, the way team gets involved at this level, product owner gets involved a level up for writing their key results and all, right? So they should understand a level up OKR. They should be participating in writing those OKRs, and based on that they should guide the team in identifying and writing good objectives, right? Objectives that are aligned to that, right? So that is how it is. But overall, everyone, every level, people needs to be involved, people needs to be focused, otherwise you will not be able to achieve.
Okay, thanks a lot for that.
Okay, any other question?
Nothing for now.
Okay, then I think that was all from my side, and I'll be happy in case the viewers and all they have any question, they come connect with you. I mean, I'll be happy to answer them.
Of course, definitely. So I think we have covered a lot of things in this session. For me, the highlight is the way you have given that example, the syntax example. I think that's most important. And the other important part is how we as a Scrum Master can contribute in this OKR. That's again most important, because most of the time, most of the Scrum Masters get involved in all this Jira board and try to gather all those reporting and all that. But I think this is the larger picture which somehow people miss. I think that's important. So I'm sure that all the organization have the OKR. It's just like those are not communicated well to most of the time. That's the main issue which I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So yes, thanks a lot, Pratyoosh. And I definitely know that a lot of people will get benefit from this session. The way you have explained is really great. So thanks one more time, Pratyoosh. You're on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Sunand. And I would again thank you for the community support that you are providing for a Scrum Master and product owner through CareerTalk. So it's one of the very popular platform, and I think you would have achieved. What is the subscriber number?
It's 36 just now, and we are
Okay,
talking.
that's great, right? So you have, I mean, there is a lot of, at different platforms, right? I have heard a lot good thing about this CareerTalk. So again, thanks for inviting me. Through your channel, I got an opportunity to support the community. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Pratyoosh.